She broke my nephew's arm right there in front of 30 people, and then she had the nerve to grin at me like she just scored the winning goal. You ever see a smile so smug it makes your vision blur? Yeah, that's the kind of morning it was. 30 seconds later, her face was mashed against a steel goalpost, blood dripping on the net, one of her teeth shining in the grass, and you could have heard a pin drop in the stands. And when she started begging for mercy, I made her stand still while 17 kids lined up to show her what truth really feels like when it lands in your ribs, one kick at a time. I know what you're thinking. Revenge, right? But no, that wasn't it. This was a lesson one written in pain, sure, but also in the kind of clarity that makes you remember who you are and what you stand for. Stick around. You're not going to believe what justice looks like until you see it for yourself. Look, I never asked to be anyone's father. But life isn't about what you ask for. When my sister died, I just inherited this skinny, quiet kid named Ryan, 11 years old, hiding behind sleeves too long for his arms, holding on to me with those eyes like maybe I could protect him from the world. The only time he ever came alive was on the soccer field. The kid slept with his cleats next to his bed. So when he got picked for the HOA's community youth game, he taped a paper number 7 to his shirt, the same number his mom wore, the same one I buried with her. I remember that morning like a fever dream. Ryan was on his knees on the carpet, lacing his cleats so tight his fingertips turned white. "Uncle, you think they'll let me play the whole game?" he whispered, and I lied to him, like you do when you want a kid to feel safe. "Yeah, buddy, you're in the whole time." Truth is, Greenfield Estates was a step-forward fantasy on the outside fresh-cut grass. White picket fences, pastel houses in a row. But if you ever lived behind those gates, you know the real story. It's a velvet-gloved dictatorship run by people who get off on power trips. And nobody played dictator better than Karen Whitmore. Karen never raised her voice, didn't need to. She'd fine you $200 for a pink plastic flamingo facing the wrong way. She ripped out a disabled veterans garden because it was too wild. And she hated kids saw them as walking lawsuits with muddy shoes. She'd already tried to ban Ryan last month for being too short. But this game? This was his chance. For once, I let myself believe it might be okay. Game day parents on the sidelines, coffee in hand, pretending not to gossip, coaches pretending they had control. Ryan in his homemade 7 jersey, waving at me from across the field. And 2 waved back, not knowing it'd be the last time I'd see him raise both arms. Then she arrived. Not walked invaded. Karen in pressed white linen, heels clacking like gunfire, a baton in one hand, and a whistle swinging from her neck. Yeah, an actual baton. She looked like a general ready for war. The air got weird. Kids shrank behind parents. Coaches found other places to look. She barked her Relesno cleats on lines. No snacks with unapproved dyes. And God help you if you tracked mud past the perimeter. 8 pages of HOA field conduct, laminated and outlined in red tape. Parents nodded along, too scared to do anything else. And the worst part? Everyone just let her. Ryan hadn't even noticed her yet, bouncing on his toes, stretching. Of course, she noticed him. "Number 7, what's your height?" she snapped. 4'4", he stammered. "Below minimum for structured play," she muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear. My fist balled up. An assistant coach tried to step in, cut him off. For safety, but she didn't yank him off. No, Karen loved the performance. She wanted the whole audience. She hovered, waiting for a moment. First half, Ryan ran like his grief wasn't even real, like he was just a kid again. I swear, for a minute I forgot why we were there. But then Karen started her little march. Stepped right onto the field, heels sinking in the grass, twirling that baton. Before I could move, Ryan chased a ball near the sideline. He slipped, brushed the edge of her dress. That was it. Karen's face twisted, and she just snapped. She shrieked, called him a brat, and swung the bat and hit him right above the ear. The whole field gasped. Ryan crumpled, tried to get up, one arm pressing into the grass, and Karen stomped down full weight on his elbow. The sound his arm made, you don't forget that sound. He screamed, raw and animal. My thermos hit the dirt, but I barely heard it. Karen stood over him, brushing imaginary dirt off her dress. Let that be a lesson. Boundaries matter. Nobody moved. Some mom sobbed, someone whispered, "Call 911." Karen? She turned on Facebook Live. This is what happens when kids don't respect authority. Smiling, as my nephew lay in the dirt, sobbing, his arm shaped wrong. I stood up, didn't run, didn't yell, just walked onto the field, and nobody stopped me. The world shrank. Karen turned, barked at me to leave. I didn't even blink. I kept coming. She threatened me with her bat, and I snapped it over my knee and threw the pieces away. She tried to scream, to act like she was still in charge, but I grabbed her, pulled her close. "You want to play queen? Bow to the crown." I threw her down, face first into the turf. The parents just watched. Not one person tried to stop me. Karen threatened to sue, to call the police, to have me arrested. I grabbed her by the hair, dragged her to the goalpost right past all those silent, guilty faces, past the kids she'd humiliated, past the rules she'd taped up like scripture. I slammed her against the post, let her feel the sting of metal. She tried to crawl. I kicked the ball right in her face. Blood. Tooth. Silence. "Get up," I growled. She whimpered. "You love rules? Here's one: you don't hurt kids." The crowd finale looped awake, like they were seeing the world for the first time. I called her out loud. "She didn't just hurt Ryan. She's hurt all your kids." Faces shifted. Anger. Shame. I turned to the kids. "How many of you has she yelled at?" One hand, then 5, then 17. So I made her stand in the goal. "You want a power? You get the truth." 17 kids, each with a ball, lined up. The first one, this tiny boy with glasses, banned him for having asthma. He kicked, hit her thigh. She yelped, tried to fall. I pulled her back up. No hiding. Next, a girl with a cast. Karen shut down her lemonade stand. She kicked low. Karen howled. On in one very shot, another memory, another line crossed. The smallest boy whispered, "She called me garbage," and kicked her in the stomach. Finally, Ryan, arm in a sling, still bandaged. He picked up the ball, stared her dead in the eye, and kicked it straight into her face. Karen collapsed. Blood, mascara, dignity gone. Phones were up everywhere, filming her at her lowest. That's how justice goes viral. A couple parents stepped up. Olivia, whose kid Karen banned from Girl Scouts. Mr. Dawson, fined for flying a flag. They just nodded, no words needed. Someone threw a laminated rule book at Karen. Enforce that. The dam broke. Laughter, relief. An emergency HOA vote. She was out. By sunset, she was cleaning the field in an orange jumpsuit with a toothbrush, community service in lieu of jail. The mural on the rec center wall. A kid kicking a ball through a paper, thrown no more. Karen, in blood-red paint. She tried to hold on, tried to call her connections, threatened lawsuits, but silence spread. Even her friends stopped answering her calls. She faded, became a meme dictator down. But that field, it changed. It felt lighter, like the whole neighborhood finally exhaled. One evening, I watched her, scrubbing the chalk line she once guarded. "You wanted revenge," she rasped. "No," I said, "this is recognition. You made these kids feel small. Now you clean up after them." She saw the line of kids watching her, quiet, still. That's what accountability looks like. She broke, finally. Whispered, "I didn't mean to hurt him." I crouched beside her. "You meant to control him. And everyone else." I dropped Ryan's old number 7 in front of her. "You tried to erase this. It survived you." And it did. Next Saturday, the field was empty. Karen was gone. House sold overnight. But the stain on the grass where she fell, still there. Some things stay, you know. Ryan ran the length of the field, kicked a ball clean into the net, and laughed like a kid should. The place felt sacred again. I've thought about it a lot, how silence becomes permission, how people like Karen only get power because we look away, stay quiet, let it slide for peace's sake. But sometimes peace isn't peace, it's surrender. Karen ruled by fear, but all it took was for someone to finally say no more. That day was about more than Ryan's broken arm. It was about every humiliation we swallowed, every neighbor we let be bullied. And the truth is, you don't need to be loud or brave, you just need to step up, and others will follow. So Javi, you ever known a Karen? Ever kept quiet when you should have spoken up? Drop your story below, even if it's just a yes. Let's turn this space into our own field. Because real power protects, it doesn't punish. And sometimes, the only way to change the rules is to break them.